Toycember is a great chance for me to talk about some vintage Transformers that don't quite have as much going on as, say, a modern generation's toy. So let's take a look back to the age of the original Headmasters and one of my most recent additions to my vintage collection, which is G1 Weirdwolf. This one is certainly up to its name. If you haven't figured out why it's weird by now, well, it's a gigantic headed wolf, for starters. But also, wolves typically do not come in this like dark teal and yellow plastic, so there's also that. I mean, it's not a bad color combination. It's a little bit atypical of a Decepticon. The yellows and blues and the off-whites. This is actually typically more of a something I'd expect more on an Autobot. It wouldn't surprise me if it was on an Autobot. But you know what? Here, yeah, kind of works. Kind of works. Sculpting wise, you do have a little bit of mechanical detail going on across the upper and lower legs. Also, you have a little bit of what's supposed to be fur across the side of the neck, but it's just a shape of triangles with a cut in them to kind of give you the impression of like him being like the hair standing up on end, ready to attack, etc. If we go toward the back, you can see what is absolutely not going to end up being his sword in robot mode. Just obviously not. This is starting the tradition that Beast Wars would proudly pick up of just having the tail become the weapon of the toy, because why not? If we take a look up at the top, you start seeing some of the stickers to give him a little bit of detail. Yep, he's got a little bit on the top of his butt, and then a little bit of purple and silver there at the top. Granted, he probably has a lot more stickers than this typically, but this is how mine came, so this is what I am reviewing. It's not a bad looking wolf, not a bad looking robotic wolf. Yep, and his mouth does actually open. I believe one of the only a few of the Predacons could. So this was actually kind of a rare back then. You can also move the head up and down to give it a little bit more of a factor of play. Because beyond that, yeah, you've got just kind of normal stuff that's going to be articulation in robot mode. As articulation here doesn't really let you get a whole lot out of him, really. He does have a cockpit gimmick in which we can retract his headmaster, Monzo. Monzo does not fit in there very well. It's supposed to be like, you would think to go in like this, like seated as such, and that would make sense. Yeah, he don't go. He don't go. So that's not going to work, unfortunately. Monzo himself, not a bad looking design for a Headmaster. He carries that same shade of like teal blue kind of look. Great plastic is much darker. I don't know why the original owner stuck a Decepticon symbol to his stomach. I guess it just made sense to them. It's cut irregularly, so I think it might actually be just like an extra thing on a sticker sheet that someone cut out. But either way, yeah, this is what your basic Headmaster looks like. They do have articulation in the hips and the knees, etc. Knees are separate, so you can do that. Also, the arms can come forward. However, on an old school Headmaster, I recommend against it. See the back side of that shoulder, how it's squared off on the top right corner? That means that it's not good at pivoting on said joint. It would have to be round, so the plastic isn't forcing itself across each other. And so when you try to raise these arms, it's going to put all the pressure on that little peg. It's very, very common to find Headmasters with arms that have been broken off, and as such, one of the reasons why Headmasters are so expensive. Even if you can find one with a head, finding one with both arms can also be a challenge. So, if you get a vintage Headmaster toy, do not raise the arms, just don't. Alright, let's bring back the wolf, and we will go into the transformation, which is no surprise, starting by removing the tail. That is still absolutely not a sword in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to raise his butt. It's just what I do. I'm also going to raise his hind legs up like this, then straighten them out like so. On the upper arms, on the forelegs, I'm going to raise these panels Just to reveal a few more details, you can have these as like shoulder missiles in the beast mode, but I typically leave them closed just so there's a little bit more visual difference between beast and robot. I'm going to raise the forelegs like that. Bring the arms down into a suitable position, and then flip the beast head back like so. And then we need to bring Monzo back in. Transform Monzo by rolling him into a Katamari ball, and then flipping up his back in order to expose the face, and plug in like so. And that's the transformation for Weirdwolf. Nice and simple, as many of the mid-G1 toys typically were. These were designed to be very easy and efficient for kids to mess with, so no surprise, it is a very quick and simple transformer. And speaking of simple, I do realize he is very sparsely decoed. This is where I suspect I'm missing a lot of stickers on my Weirdwolf, as the only one surviving is his Decepticon symbol. That said, I do like the color layout. I will give him credit for that. And head sculpt-wise, the sculpting on the eyes is hysterical, because it's not... Okay, so it would be fine if the eyes were painted. They are not. So it's the same flat gray, and what you see is the sculpting circles that are right in the middle of his eyes, which just make him look like he's bugging out, and it's kind of hysterical. Definitely adds to the weird part of the Weirdwolf, doesn't it? If I flip down the chest, you'll see the gimmick of the Headmasters, which is to reveal their stats within the toy itself. You can see Weirdwolf's a very smart boy. So good on him. Now, these are actually gimmicked. If I remove the Headmaster, the reels go blank again. And the idea is that every Headmaster has a different combination. You see the panel there underneath the chin of this one? I put that in. Okay, and I get mostly straight stats across the board. Okay, cool. If I take Monzo again, you'll notice different, different levels to them. So if I put that back in, then all of a sudden, it works differently. So that was the idea of being able to basically give it was the head that determined the stats of the bot. So it's kind of a neat little trick if you want to mix and match and see what numbers you come up with. All right, so articulation-wise, it's G1. You're not going to get anything. Yeah, so the elbows do bend, though on mine they are very tight. So I'll refrain from going too ham on them. But the legs do go forward. So, okay, cool. So you get 4 points of articulation. Very basic stuff, very 80s stuff. I think biggest worry for me is the fact that the man has no belly. He's got chest and he's got pelvis. The man's got no belly, which is a little bit weird to me. It's Weirdwolf, so no surprise there. But also, he's got a little bit of a backpack issue. So if you hadn't noticed, pretty much all of his wolf mode was just fold to the backside of him, behind the arms, behind the legs, behind his back. And that's pretty much all they came up with for transformation schemes, so it's a little bit unfortunate. Yeah, he's definitely not as creative as some of the other Headmasters I own. So let's go ahead and finish him off. He needs his gun, which will go in the right hand, and it's a nice weapon design. It's got a huge magazine on it. This is good for a lot of shots, I assume. And then he will get this sword, which is totally not his tail that I took off a few minutes ago. So, yeah, melee weapon, ranged weapon. I like when they have the combination. Very, very nice. And that, my friends, is going to be Weirdwolf. And he certainly lives up to the name. The wolf is just hanging off of his back in pieces. Let's just be real here. It's not the most clever of transformation schemes. But the colors are nice. The wolf mode is nice. I can't really take anything away from that. If it's your thing, it's your thing, and just, maybe it's a substandard transformation, but, it can still be fun. So that's what I got for you for today. Thank you very much for joining me on another Toycember. Stay tuned. Tomorrow's another completely random toy that I'm just going to make up out of thin air. Join me.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.